Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and it's time for the Comic Book Roundtable. And tonight we will have no half ads, but we'll probably talk about half ads. Anyway, how's it going, guys? Have a big cast with me tonight. Tonight we have with us Wednesday Serial Matt. We have Sergeant America Mike. We have Luke from Luke Batman Reviews videos, something. which we were just discussing. He's got to change the name because he's got so much other stuff he's reading now. And we have back with us tonight, we have Mac Hammer Brandon. How's it going, sir?
I'm alright. Still don't know if I'm a right Twix guy or a left Twix guy yet, though.
Yeah, I'm neither. Oh, those were awful, though. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe they don't disturb your book, but at the same time they do. So
what would have made it worse is that they had Nick Lachey. That's what has made it worse.
My issue, I guess, isn't so much as this Nick Lachey, as like a lot of other artists were complaining. It's just such a shitty Photoshop job. That fake background and him kind of glued on top of it. You at least think they could have.
He's got one of his fingers in one of his pockets, just like. I know.
Well, I guess what I'm hoping for is I'm hoping it's just this month and we'll not see these kinds of ads come back. Because clearly this is an ad that has to do with Twix because Twix has two halves. I mean, how many other products out there have two halves, right? Hopefully not a lot. So hopefully we won't continue to get that. Or we'll get one half ad here and a half ad somewhere else, right?
Yeah, it'll be the head and shoulders. It'll be just the top of somebody's head and then the lower parts.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
The Twinkie ad over here and the whatever ad over there. Anyway, one of the things that all geeks can say that they're not happy to see come back from the 70s, right? Everybody always talks about, the Silver Age comics, they were the best comics. Why can't everything be like the Silver Age? This would probably be the one Silver Age product we don't really want. But at any rate, let's talk comic books. We're going to start out with DC, since we're talking about their ads. What book do we want to talk about first?
I know I think majority of us got Green Arrow, right?
Yep.
Ooh, no.
Matt didn't.
I love that variant.
I got the super sexy tribute to St. Augustine cover by Bill Sekowitz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And my shop, I mean, these were all that were on the shelf. I presume everybody that had a poll got the regular one. Otherwise, we didn't get any of the regular ones.
Huh. That's weird.
I got the regular cover. That's the one my shop had. You
just got the Joker variant in your shop, huh?
Yeah, and I dug through. I was looking through them all. So.
Yeah, and I specifically got this one because I just thought it was a funny cover. So, Green Arrow, new creative team on it with Benjamin Percy and Patrick. How do you say his last name?
Zurcher, I think.
Zurcher?
I might be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, for those who don't know, you good call on picking up what he did before recently. Percy, for you Batman fans, he did the two short story Terminal. Good call on that. Good pickup.
At a Detective Comics, 6 months ago or something like that?
Yeah, 35 and 36.
Yeah, okay, 4 months ago.
But outside of that, is he relatively new? Because I don't remember. I don't know his name anywhere else.
2 comic books, I believe he is. He's a he's a mystery writer, I believe.
Okay.
So what do we think of this? His beginning of a story for Green Arrow.
I like that he did a nod to characters that were done in the Sorrentino Lemire run with Fife and bringing in his sister Emmy. That I really appreciated, and I could see this as a really good start to what he's going to build on. I felt it was a solid block.
I picked up Green Arrow the only Green Arrow stuff I read in the New 52 was the J2 Kroll stuff right at the beginning, and that was bad. That was bad. So I didn't know who Emmy was, so I'm glad you cleared that up, because I was going to ask that. I didn't read the Lemire stuff, so okay.
Yeah, it's his sister through... in the storyline, his father has an affair with Shadow, who is an assassin that they meet and use, and then he falls in love with her. They have a love affair child, and then she's abducted by Count Vertigo. Shadow is, and Emmy is used by Kamito, and he keeps her as like a daughter and trains her to be an assassin. So she is the female Damian Wayne.
Fair enough.
Okay, so a question about that, Mike, because I know you read some of the last Green Arrow before the Convergence stuff. I know you may read right after, but you started reading with the last Creative Tree. You read some of that stuff. Were they
About two or three of them.
right?
Yeah.
Were they using her? Because in this issue, she is radically different. In this issue, other than her complaining about having to go to school and stuff, she seems relatively normal. Whereas
Yeah.
in the Lemire book, she's much more the stilted, what you would consider your stereotypical Asian child that's being raised by, a ninja equivalent of the bow. So her speech, she's much closer in that to the Damian Wayne, version, the more of the assassin type thing. Whereas in this, she seems like a kid who just thinks it's not cool to have to go to school, and clearly she knows who Green Arrow is.
Yeah, I think the last group did a slight tweak where they said that a female assistant of Ollie's took her and started to adapt her to a modern American girl feel.
Okay.
Fife, the guy who helps him out, was also removed, and a lot of it,
Right.
the writer was a slight nod, but then pushed them aside. So it's nice because it looks like they're bringing all these people back, drawing
Right.
them back.
No Diggle so far. No Diggle. No Felicity Smoke.
No.
So the TV show stuff's kind of gone.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
I'll
I
pick it up
guess-
next week.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to know before I picked it up. So.
Yeah. None of that is in it. Was this a strong start?
I think it was a dark start. I mean, gives it a good theme. I think, especially I picked up the last run just to kind of prep me for this one, and this one with all the death, how people are dying, a little bit darker than the last run was. So at least I think sets it on a good tone.
Okay.
I thought it was.
Go ahead, Brent. Go ahead, Brent.
I thought it was pretty decent. The only thing that makes me a little bit leery is the main villain that we've been getting teased on here, because there's a couple, like at the beginning of this book and at the end of this book, he went through all this like narration, right, about the moon and how like lunatic and all that comes from the moon, and it felt like it was starting to get redundant. It's like the only thing I was really getting from this conversation is that he's a psychopath. There's really nothing else to that villain that I got from his narration. So outside of that, I'm not really sold on the villain, but outside of that, I kind of like the tone, and well, considering I'm comparing it to the last Green Arrow stuff I read, which was really bad, it's definitely a step up for me, but there's room for improvement, I think, too. As far as the villain goes, for sure, I think.
I thought it was okay. I thought the 2 or 3 pages that get talked about the moon, because the comic starts out with talking about the moon, about Ollie looking at the moon, all that kind of stuff, and then it ends with conversation about the moon too. That didn't feel really solid to me. As far as, to me that feels like a kind of a detective story, kind of a trope in a way, just the way they use that, because it feels like the lady who writes Catwoman does the same thing. She has a little bit of a thing at the beginning of the story, and I think at the end, and hers seemed to work. And I don't know that this one was that strong. I guess what I wanted, this wasn't a bad issue, and I'm going to buy more because I'm a Green Arrow fan, and there was nothing here that offended me or made me upset. But I didn't think this was a really fast and strong start. Those 2 issues of Detective Comics that he wrote 4 months ago, it starts out with a bang. It's already got you by the seat of your pants, that first issue, and you're going. There's stuff happening. This felt very slow, and the tease of whatever the monster or villain is that's snatching people up, I don't know. There was nothing, to me, there was nothing special about that, really, to make me go, ooh, wow. And so I was hoping for more of a punch from this first issue. I was hoping this first issue would come out just, swinging for the fences kind of a thing, as opposed to a slow bubble. And this feels like a slow bubble to me. I think that if you are a Green Arrow fan, this is cool, and we're going to like it. If you're just, going to read the comic, I don't know if there's anything special about this issue to make me go, yeah, I want to be on board for Green Arrow. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well, to be fair, Ben Percy only had 2 issues to work with in Detective, so that's probably why he had to make it more fast-paced than what he's doing now. I don't know. Like, is he on it for the long term? Or is he only on for a short term? Or do we know for Green Arrow?
I don't think we know.
Okay.
This is the current creative team. I would assume coming out of this break, them starting out again, that there's an idea that they're going to be around for a while.
So I feel like maybe Ben Percy thinks he's got more room to play with and he can spread it out a little bit more. I never read the Detective story, so I'm just going off what other people are saying.
Right.
Well, and this is a 3-issue arc, it says at the end.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, right at the bottom it says The Nightbirds, Part 1 of 3.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Like I said, I didn't think it was a bad issue. I guess I wanted to get kicked in the teeth more as far as I wanted to punch it up and go, I guess, and it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't have that. But I like the feel of it. The ambiance of this, of it was good. Knocking the cell phone out of the guy's hand and stomping on it, though. How does Oliver Queen get away with that? He owes her. He's one of the richest people. You think most people would know. When Jobs was still alive, if he walked by me and slapped my phone out of my hand and stomped on it because it was an Android, I would know Steve Jobs stomped on my phone. I would be doing something. I'm just saying. I don't know.
But who would believe you?
Well,
Somebody else would have it on video.
Did you guys see the sample story that came out online before this?
No.
No,
I
didn't.
Because I felt with the teaser story that we were getting more of a street version of Ollie than what we got out of this. This feels like we're going back to close to the Lemire run.
Where he's in charge of the corporate stuff again.
Yeah.
I don't mind that, though. He needs to have his money to finance all his stuff, so it doesn't make sense if he's not doing the rich playboy thing.
Yeah.
But
the only other thing I did have a slight problem with is when the girl in the alleyway is attacked, and he shoots the guy, or he shoots the chain,
right.
And it's enough power to pull the guy up into the stairs.
I was going to mention that, but I forgot.
Well, clearly his compound bow is like 1,000, pull on it. So yeah. Yeah.
He's got the mirror crew in him.
That's right. Something like that. TV show.
I thought the artist was pretty good in this.
Yes.
The artist and the colors actually look really well.
I'm on board. I'm on board at least to the 3 issues of this arc, for sure.
So am I. I'll give it a shot.
Happy to have it back. I'm waiting for him to grow the facial hair, and then it's gonna be all rock star all the time. So.
Right, 'cause I thought you were all like, no beard, I'm not jumping back on. Like, putting your foot down, so I was surprised. That's why I asked you, does he have a beard? Because I knew you were jumping on.
No, I just really didn't like what they were doing with it. The last creative team on the direction they were going with the TV show stuff. But nothing to do with that. So cool. Anything else we want to say about Green Arrow?
Nope.
Cool. What else do we want to talk about? Matt, what did you get for DC Books?
I got one DC book. Batman Beyond. Anyone else pick this up?
It's Tim Drake.
Man, Travis, I was gonna get.
I was gonna wear my.
I was hoping no one else got it. I was gonna tease you like a slow rise with the cover.
I was gonna wear a Deadpool shirt today, but I was like, nah, Travis is going through enough today.
Oh, so talk to us about Tim Drake.
I love that conversation on Twitter, by the way, how it just literally just started off so innocent, like, hey, getting ready to read, and just the Tim Drake bashing just commenced right in my Twitter feed. It was, it's like, damn. Go ahead, Matt. You can start, man.
I don't know, man. It started off for me pretty cool, like, we're getting back in the Batman Beyond thing, and I'll be honest, I wasn't reading any of the solicitations or anything, so I was like, where are we going? Then I found it's completely out of Future's End, and my enthusiasm just dropped. And
did you read Future's End?
Yeah, that's why my enthusiasm dropped.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Well, so you at least knew what was going on.
I mean,
going into this because you had read Future's End. Or I think Luke, right? You didn't read Future's End, so it was like,
Yeah.
Well,
only Future's End stuff, just convergence related by research. That was it.
So the reason I wasn't so enthused, and this is talking about the future's end, but I mean, it's spoiling it, but the better way to put it is I can only attempt to spoil it because it doesn't really make sense. Is they have all of Future's End, and then they're like, nope, and they rewrite everything they just did, and then jump Tim Drake to here, I guess, but like, I don't know what's supposed to carry forward and what's not. So it's just this weird mishmash of like Batman Beyond stuff and a few like elements that were in Future's End. But I was just, having read it all, being the person who's supposed to know everything, I was still lost. Like, it was just kind of frustrating. Like, wait, evil robotic Superman showed up, but he shouldn't be able to show up. Like, I don't know. And then they had this dystopian scene with the Statue of Liberty.
Right, the commandy picture, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what? There's a story there. Are we gonna get there? I don't know. It just threw me off. I don't know if you guys were at the same space I was, but
you're right. Yeah, if you well, maybe I understand. Yeah, if you read Future's End at all, I think you guys are dead right. You're going to be totally lost. Myself, I had a kind of problem with how Drake kind of talked, like "Yo, Alfred," just I don't know that Tim Drake. That's something you would normally expect in a Drake dialogue. But
see, Tim Drake's a douchebag.
whoa, whoa.
This is a family show, Travis.
Oh, sorry.
But what if Tim Drake is watching?
But that said, though, once I think you somewhat get a grasp of what the whole thing with the veil technology and the cyborgs, whatnot,
Yeah.
I think it all sort of makes sense, somewhat.
So he
A
is
little bit.
really so. Batman Beyond is really not in the traditional what we've known in the past as being his world. We're in this whatever.
30. You're like what 30? What is it like 30 years ahead? 30, 35?
We're in this what's left over of the mishmash coming out of Future's End. So you got some of the cyborg stuff that's controlled or was controlled by Brother Eye running around.
Yeah.
It's not.
And the only city that's left is intact is Gotham. Really, every other city is no man's land, basically.
The irony.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Having not read this, one positive thing I will say about this book is it completely removes Tim Drake from the rest of the DC universe, and that's pretty awesome.
Are you sure? Are you sure? The fact that Bruce Wayne is in Justice League right now, who knows what DC
right.
is doing?
Okay, fair enough.
I wasn't being a prick about this. You're just looking for a reason just to get rid of Tim Drake, so it.
I'm just waiting to see how much hate mail I can get today for all the Tim Drake love. So.
See, I'm thinking it's like a clone of Tim Drake that went to the future, so he can also have one back in the past and get more Tim Drake.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a Teen Titans book?
There's one coming, right?
No, yeah, it's been out. They redid it. It was discontinued for a while, and then they rebooted it. I think.
Well, I mean, after. Well, what I'm saying is that
after
now.
Convergence. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder who's in that then, or if he's in both places, being Red Robin in one and future Batman. Huh. Okay. Curious. I'll have to look into that. That would be a reason to maybe pick up the Teen Titans now.
But I would say, I don't know. I mean, the fact this is just a Batman book, this would be why I get it. I literally got done reading. I was just like, not as bad as other people, but.
See, I guess for me it's a bit of a different thing, because when I picked it up, I was hoping for, Terry McGinnis and getting back on Batman Beyond and picking up where the comic dropped off before, because I was reading all that with the Superman Beyond and everything, and this is none of that, and that was just funny. And I got a huge spoiler in the middle of this book that threw me off.
What, at the end?
In the ads.
In the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one.
Right. Nothing like running an ad that, a week or two before the book comes out.
Well, I mean, they have to advertise the book, but the whole enigma was like, what's up with this new Batman? And then they're like, Commissioner Gordner is the new Dark Knight. I was like, oh, okay. That would have been fun to have read.
Green Arrow even had a link that said, "Oh, if you want to find more about this, check out Batman next week or something."
Yeah.
Too. And I thought that was kind of odd because that didn't come out yet either. I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah.
So I'll shut up. Anybody want to say anything else about Batman Beyond?
So we'll expect you
Tim
to have
Drake
it
is a
next
saint.
month?
True.
Okay then.
Yes.
Let's talk other DC books. Let's talk Bizarro.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
talk Bizarro number 1. Or backwards number 1. So this is issue 6, right?
Yeah. They should have
Is that also this also issue mini?
Yeah, this is issue 6 of 1
Okay.
in Bizarro speak, right?
Yeah.
So, and hey, you know what? This book is rated E. I can't remember the last time I saw a Big 2 book that's part of the mainstream that was rated E for everyone. I'm not a big Superman fan, but I love Bizarro. I just have fun reading Bizarro. Bizarro's stories can be stupid, but if they're this kind of Bizarro where he is stupid and talks backwards and stuff, I just think it's funny. And so I can giggle all the way through the comic just reading it out loud to myself because I like the way Bizarro talks. And the fact that he has a pet, Cooperara, as I say it?
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra
Hey.
is funny also. I don't know, it's just kind of a cute book. I mean, it's not going to be, I don't think, anything impactful. It's just kind of a fun, if my kids were, 10 years younger, they would love it, I'm sure.
Well, and the fact that it's 6 issues, I think, was smart. Because I don't know how much of this I could read. But 6 issues makes me still appreciate it, I think, all the way through.
And the dream sequence of Bizarro dreaming and it being done by Bill Sekowitz is pretty awesome. Because that's a pretty trippy dream.
Yeah, I like it because it's almost the Forever Evil, that he dreams about, the Forever Evil Bizarro.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
The Egyptian car dealer is the best.
Yeah.
Because he makes puns, and he's just like me, and I love him. You'll be in denial why you don't pick up this car. I was just like,
That's
oh
right.
my god, I
Yes.
love it.
Yeah.
The only problem is with this book is I think this book hits on all marks, or it completely doesn't, depending on how well you're able to decipher the Bizarro speak. Because there's a couple times where it took me a couple extra seconds to figure out exactly what Bizarro was saying. And it might be just a little thing, but did I just freeze?
No.
Okay, good.
Hooray!
Yeah, boo-ray. Even though it took a couple extra seconds a couple times to decipher his speak, it was a little bit just to throw me off just a tad. But outside of that, I thought it was fun. A fun read for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. And clearly, if you don't like Bizarro, you don't like the Miam, feeling bad today when he's, eating ice cream or whatever. Then it clearly not a book for you. But if you like that goofy Bizarro, I don't know, that was fun. It was a fun read just to read it, have a laugh.
I also liked the Forever Evil Bizarro. I liked the serious nature, and when I get I'm also not a Superman fan, but I like Bizarro, so when I get the statues or whatever, I don't like the one that says number 1 Bizarro. I'd rather it be the more serious tone. But like I said, in a small 6 issue, I really do appreciate the writing style.
Yeah, agreed. I liked, even though it was a surprise, I liked the Bizarro that they had back for that. In that more of the monster, the kind of thing. That was cool. But I like Bizarro. I like Bizarro World. I liked that that Justice League book that was out of, well, was Justice League? No, it was Action Comics that was out a little while ago, where it had the whole Bizarro Justice League, with Aquaman swinging a narrow whale as a hammer and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous that I think it's funny because it's playing on all of the, we have all these heroes and they're oh so serious. Superman is oh so serious, and this gives you a chance to kind of, along with Mixelplix, this gives you a chance to kind of make fun of Superman and the whole thing. And I was amused by the fact that Superman is drinking out of a Batman mug in this when he's drinking his coffee. That's pretty
So
funny
you also
too.
didn't read the teaser on this one then either, did you?
I read none of the teasers. I didn't read
Okay.
the teasers for any of the books.
The teaser for this one had the whole him on his planet with the Injustice League and all them. So, it was good. And when I saw it, it like Deadpool, too much is too much.
Oh,
But just a little bit, like being in a book, I think is perfect because I do love Deadpool in things, but sometimes, too much is too much. Sorry, Matt.
No, I after the past couple issues of Deadpool, I'm weaning myself off.
Like a junkie.
I also like the conversation Jimmy Olsen had with Clark Kent, because Clark Kent's like, okay, take Bizarro somewhere, and he goes, what do you want me to do, take him to Canada and call it Bizarro America? And I was like, oh my god.
yeah. I was gonna tweet that line out just because of all you guys, but
Yeah.
that's pretty funny. Bizarro America. Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was pretty funny. I'm enjoying it, and I fully plan on picking up all 6 issues. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in a completely different tone. Clearly that's DC putting something in their main line, and it being not like the 52. So.
And the only reason why I picked that one up is because one of my other books I didn't get. Red Swing and Vulture Circle, my shop didn't have, so I was like, oh, I'll try Bizarro, and then, yeah.
Sure. Anybody pick up Bat-mite?
Dun, dun, dun.
The Batman guy.
Of course.
Yeah,
So that's the other. Because that's the other goofy book that came out this week, or I'm assuming it's a goofy book.
Oh yeah,
Um, Is it rated E also?
exactly. Yep,
Okay.
rated E. However, I would recommend, if you got kids, I would still read it first before you kind of read it with them. They mentioned castration. It's only once. I mentioned the word castration and
Because
kill.
castration's for everyone.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
Yeah, but I mean, other than that, this is, just a goofy, kind of like a Harley Quinn type of thing. You're not getting the fourth wall breaking, but Bat-mite's dialogue throughout here is, you laugh, you get a chuckle. I have the same thing, I guess, with Bizarro. You just read, you go, it's funny, but yeah, it's well worth it. I loved it. I had a great time reading it. Laughed. Art's cool. I guess the whole premise behind this is that Bat-mite's got to help all these superheroes. But it's good.
Is that a limited run, Luke, or is that...
Yeah, it's 6 issues.
Okay.
Same thing.
I'm glad you read it because I can't read about castration. I get too freaked out.
It was just kind of, it's in the beginning though, as they open up the story, and Bat-mite's like facing trial. So I guess, just like any other Bat-mite story, he just causes chaos wherever he's at, or at least involved with chaos. So this world he's in, they're just like, what should we do with him? Castration, decapitation, kill him. Let's go, just get rid of him, get him out of here. So. But I read it with my son. I just kind of, as I was reading, he can't read. He's only like 4.5, so he can't read verbatim what's on the page. So when I'm reading it to him, I'm just kind of substituting words out.
Yeah.
So, like, Batman is dead. No, Batman went to timeout.
Wow, your timeout is harsh, Luke.
Yeah.
Wow.
You go in, you might not come back out.
Jeez. Wow, brutal. Wow. I'm just briefly going over comments. Carlos says that that Tim Drake is still in the Teen Titans. So there you go. Yeah, and I guess Carlos also read the last full arc of Green Arrow, and he says that it seems like that the last arc never happened.
Yeah.
So
Good.
probably a good call there. Yeah, let's just forget the TV part, right? So,
Yeah.
What TV part?
Okay, that's Arrow, not Green Arrow, right? Oh, what in our DC books we want to talk about?
Midnighter?
Midnighter.
Ooh.
Oh, how was the art? Aiko is the artist. in that,
Awesome.
right? Oh, I love Aiko's art.
The only thing I would say is where he did some of the cutaways, or he would encapsulate a box in a picture. Because I've seen Sorrentino do it, I'm a little more partial to that. Sometimes I didn't feel it, it didn't match up how I thought it would. But otherwise, I mean, it was still a very excellent art.
And the colors by Romulo. Oh.
Fajardo.
You're on your
Jr.?
own on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Batman Eternal. I remember.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy, but his colors are awesome. I mean, I really, really like it. It's a limited palette of kind of greens and oranges and browns kind of a thing in tones of that, and I thought it worked really well. So Mike, you thought that that those little panels, what you think, too busy?
I liked those. It's the one like where he cracks the skull, I think, just to the side. Some of those, it didn't feel like they matched up. Like
here we are in the combat, and a guy's getting hit, and you're seeing his neck get broken there as he's being.
It's like Mortal Kombat X-ray vision, or you play the video games.
Am I freezing up, or can you guys see me when I talk?
You're fine, Mike.
All right. I think this is the one, especially with the sunglasses, that I had issue with.
I love that one. Oh.
But I didn't think that the skull fit in the head picture right. And maybe I'm wrong, because it was just a little difficult to see. It just didn't seem to me...
To match up.
Yeah.
Sure.
And like I said, it's not because it's bad. It's because I've seen Sorrentino do it a different style. Mm-hmm. And I'm more partial to that, but I still really loved the artwork on it.
I thought that the art was really good in portraying what Midnighter is, with him having this computer set in his head that runs him through all of these choices so fast that he can then decide, he's already got it all figured out as to what's going to happen. To portray that tactical edge, I think it's really cool to have some of that there. Some of those panels represent that, and some of those panels are just showing the extra violence, clearly, like the skull cracking there and stuff. But some of that also is it's running these little panels to show all the options of all the angles that are going to happen. Like when he's playing pool, and he cracks the ball, and of course he sinks every damn ball with one strike because of course he can figure out all the angles for the whole thing and whatnot. Which I thought was great. I like Midnighter in this. He feels like he has a lot more personality than... Well, he really has since the Grayson. Have you guys been reading the Grayson books? No, just me? Because in that, he's had more of a personality, too. Because it seemed to me like in Stormwatch and whatnot, he was kind of one note. I'm here to just break people up and bat my eyes at Apollo.
Right, and I read Stormwatch for a while, and I agree with that.
Yeah, and here he feels like there's much more to him. He is lively. Even though he's surrounded in violence, and violence is what he does, he has a sense of humor. It seems and whatnot. Whereas it comes across a lot more lively in this book than I think it has in the prior stuff that I've read of his, where he's really cold and vicious, I guess. There were a couple times in here that I was a little confused as to what was going on. Some of the language that was used when these people show up to attack this place. I was a little bit of I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. It was just a random thing to kind of show him being a superhero, I guess. I don't know that it had a long-term...
Or like you said with Arrow, I mean, this had that initial kick and pow that the Arrow was missing. But, yeah, because you definitely felt like instant superhero when you read it. Yeah.
And it pulls no punches on the romance part of the book. If you're bothered by gay men, not the book for you, probably. But I thought that was great. It's just like a not Tim Drake, Jiminy Christmas. It's just like the Grayson book. In the Grayson book, Dick seems to have no problem, finding the ladies and having a good time. This is like a violent gay version of Grayson in a way, in that aspect. And I like the interaction with the potential new boyfriend.
That I had a little difficulty with because he could go anywhere. So when he went to Moscow, I wasn't sure if it was the same guy.
Yeah.
But on rereading it, I figured that out.
Right. Because he chips the guy. He chips his boyfriend. You know, like a microchip, like you would for your pet or something. It's kind of what the boyfriend's like. Wait a second, you just did what to me? You know, and the guy's in IT, so he's kind of like, you know. So that's kind of an interesting conversation that starts to get had, but doesn't get finished because, of course, there's this greater thing is happening with the gardener and potentially finding out who he was before. Because I guess he doesn't know who he was before he was Midnighter, before he had the supercomputer put in his head. That information was supposedly lost, and now, lo and behold, it's out there somewhere and somebody stole it. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
I talked all much. What does everybody else think?
As a first issue, I felt I knew who he was until you brought up at the end that he has a personality issue and who is Apollo. And I guess I didn't feel I needed to know that much, that I'm invested in the story without knowing all of that.
Do you think they put that in there to satisfy those of us who have a history with the character? Because we'd all be going, well, okay, so where's Apollo in the grand scheme of this thing? Do you think? Do you think, Brandon? I mean, because Brandon, you've read the stuff with Apollo in it and whatnot.
Well, I didn't read Stormwatch all the way through. I only read up to like where it crossed over with Red Lanterns, and that was a while ago. I don't really not fresh in my memory right now, but I don't know.
Well, okay. Anyway, Midnighter has a history of being a gay superhero and having an open relationship with Apollo.
Right.
And since he's been in Grayson, there has been no Apollo that we've heard of, and I just wonder if they put that Apollo stuff in there to show that he has had relationships in the past, and and to throw a bone to those of us who have a history. Maybe I don't know.
Do you see this going also a lot more sci-fi than street?
Yeah, well, it's going to have a sci-fi element in it because he's sci-fi.
Yeah.
You know, because he's not Batman. You know, everybody always wants to refer to him as being the gay Batman, but he's not, because Batman doesn't walk around with a supercomputer in his head that gives him every option as to how to deal with something. So he's going to be different.
All right.
I don't know how.
I guess.
I think it's largely going to be about him beating the hell out of things. I mean, because that's what he does. So it's going to feel street in that aspect. But he travels around through that convenient door. He can just open a door wherever and get wherever he needs to, as opposed to jumping into the Batplane.
All right.
Would be my guess, anyway. Yeah. I really liked it. I'm sticking with it. I'm excited for the book.
And definitely best thing about all of these that we just mentioned, $2.99 books.
Yeah.
Thank you, DC.
DC's number ones are $2.99 as opposed to adding $1 to them and giving them a crappy cover. Yeah.
Well, and even 41. I mean, for Green Arrow, it was all $3.99. It's great that there's the cover book.
And they kept the numbering.
Yeah.
Bonus.
Yeah. True. Did I miss anything, Brandon? Is there something you wanted to say about Midnighter, or did I steal all the thunder?
I don't think so. Maybe there's one thing maybe I had a little issue with, maybe a bit with the pacing, but not a ton. Nothing that took me out of it. I think I thought it was good. I don't think there's really much else to add.
Okay. Any other DC books?
I got a couple. Anyone else got anything more?
I want to hear about Justice League, because I was really, really tempted to pick it up and chose not to because I was swearing off Justice League until Jeff Johns is off the book.
Can I do that one last?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I got one more book. I'm pretty sure.
No,
I know Luke got it, but Batman Arkham Knight.
Yep.
So I'll let you talk about that one.
Did you finish it?
Yeah, I read it.
Okay. For those who love I would say straight up, if you love the video game series, yeah, this title continues to be very good. Centered on that, I think you kind of have to separate yourself a little bit, because there are some things that's been going on in here in the video game universe that obviously isn't applying in the main Batman universe. I love the opening part here. For those who love Oracle, or Barbara Gordon, Oracle. The first, maybe third of the issue, you're just gonna just luck it up. She beats the crap out of this dude in her wheelchair that's trying to get her in this park. That
That was probably my favorite part of the book because I was
Yeah.
a Gordon fan, so I love that.
Oh yeah, and now after she puts the cowl on right when she's getting ready to punch the dude in the face, she puts the cowl back on. It's
Yeah, the back row cow,
yeah. Interesting twist to might happen to Commissioner Gordon in here. Also, we know with his future in Batman, but yeah, he might have a pretty interesting twist what happens to him here if
I was
the
trying
plan
to think.
goes to.
I was trying to think if any other Bat books have played with that idea before, but I couldn't remember. Like, I feel like there's something that has, but I can't remember exactly.
I mean, No Man's Land was somewhat close. He was pretty much just the overall that equivalent. I don't want to spoil if you haven't read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that equivalent to that sector of his neighborhood or that town, maybe. Yeah, but as far as what they're going here,
I couldn't remember. I was like, yeah.
I gotta think deep about it. But anyway, yeah, very interesting what they want to go through here. Art is just phenomenal in here, and Tomasi, I love Tomasi even more now.
I do have a problem with the art.
You do? Well, I do have one gripe though. The eyes.
Okay.
Do you like the eyes?
I hate it on Bane.
Yeah, the Bane
Basically,
eyes.
for Travis, you read 10 Grand, right?
Oh yeah.
Basically, picture Bane. Then, when the new artist came on 10 Grand, C.B. Smith, he's had those like animated eyes and facial features. Put that on Bane.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I laughed hysterically at a couple panels at how Bane's face looked. I was just like, oh my god. But I was trying to.
Supposed to be afraid of him, and instead you're laughing your ass off, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like how Bane's face looks.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I didn't have a problem with the artwork.
Then you get that, then you get something like this. It's really but yeah. You're so right. Yeah. Even on Batman, that one panel you see his eyeball. It's just like, but yeah, it's obviously basically it's 2 stories in here. First third of the book is about Barbara Gordon Oracle and what they're doing with Gordon. The other one is the return of Bane, really.
Yes.
Getting his Venom back, and I love it. It's been a fun series. Recommend it.
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
But I laughed at it for the wrong reasons.
No, you're right. I mean, those eyeballs, even I was like, alien-like. Mike, sorry, $3.99.
Oh, yeah.
And it gets better. Don't worry about it. But fun. Anything else, Brendan, you want to say about it?
It's all you now for DC.
All right. Dun, dun, dun. And Mike, let's make this $4.99.
Oh!
So, but that said, this was fun. Other than Trinity War and Forever Evil, it's the only Justice League stuff I read, and it did help. I did read issue number 40, and obviously with Divergence, you kind of need to read that too. So I would say, if you read Divergence in issue number 40, and you're new and you're jumping onto this, I think you'll be okay. There's one little mention about the Mesovirus story arc in here with Luthor and Superman, but other than that, if you're new or have been off for a while, I think you'll be okay. But yeah, this was just fun. I mean, first off, I'm just so glad to have Jason Fabok back in my pool again. The art of this is just delicious. Yeah. I don't know how I want to attack this and not really spoil too much, but basically got like 3 storylines going on here. You got, and I think I can talk to this. Obviously, read issue 40, the Divergence issue. You kind of get the gist of this. You got Darkseid has 2 of his assassins basically running around looking for someone named Marina Black. So if you read the Divergence issue, you know the importance of Marina Black. Or Wonder Woman, I don't know. I mean, it deals with Wonder Woman. All this stuff kind of ties in with Wonder Woman, obviously. So you got them looking for Marina Black. And then we have Mr. Miracle. his portion coming back to Apocalypse. And again, if you read issue 40, you kind of get the gist. I don't know. I think his name's Scott Free, right?
Yep.
He's prior to this. Did they mention anything about him spending time on Apocalypse, or is that just something new?
No.
No, it's new.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to get into that and spoil it. But yeah, something happened with him, and if you read issue 40, you get it. And then this other one is that it deals with. I don't want to spoil it. Okay, Darkseid's daughter comes. That's pretty much the whole angle of the story arc, is this Darkseid's daughter coming in, and it all starts with the murder of someone named Marina Black in this apartment, and all the Justice League members coming in to kind of solve this crime scene. It all deals with they know it's something important, because obviously it has a trace of a boom tube, so based off the powers of Cyborg, they know it's something to do with Apocalypse. And throughout, it was very well done. Again, the art again is delicious. The only thing I got confused on, and again, not trying to spoil it, but I'll just say in short, it appears that half the Justice League members have a bad day.
Yep.
I'll just kind of leave it at that.
That's what I heard. I've been wondering how they were gonna get some of the characters off the team, because they really traditionally aren't part of the Justice League, right?
Well, yeah. I'll just say one, Batman. I will say that. What happens to him? But you really can't tell. The exception of one, it's pretty. Marina Black, or I'm sorry, her name is oh God, what's her name? I forget. Darkseid's daughter. She comes through one of their mouths. Like, this person is talking, and she literally morphs out of this person's mouth. So you'd assume that he or she, probably not going to walk away from that. But Batman's one, it's implied what happens to him, but then again, yeah, I mean, so you just don't know if any of them kind of made it out okay. But yeah, this was good. There's also huge Wonder Woman tie-in in this. If you're a Wonder Woman fan, this is going to be for you, because it all kind of intermingles with her, especially with the Darkseid daughter thing, which again, if you read Divergence, this really shouldn't come to a big surprise to you, that the link between what is her name? Grail. There it is, Grail. Darkseid's daughter, Grail, in Wonder Woman. There's obviously a pretty big tie there. So, but yeah, if anything else, this Faybox art, and I understand you have a beef with Johns, and I can see that too. It's wordy. It is really wordy. And dense, you do kind of have to pay attention, but I loved it. And it's just, if I can just find, for those who kind of wondering.
I just don't think he can deliver. At the end of the day anymore, he just doesn't. His arcs don't really come to fruition. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, then again, this is coming from someone I didn't go through.
But I love the Fourth World characters. I mean, I love those characters to pieces. So that's why and Fabek's art would make it really, really tempting to read it. But
yeah, that's Grail. But yeah, it's just one snippet. Yeah, if anything else, the art is great. So, but yeah, $4.99. It's thick. It's a thick book. So I mean, yeah, you're paying a lot of money. It is thick, but myself, I enjoyed it. So
cool. So, any DC news we want to talk about?
I did hear that since we're keeping somewhat Batman, there might be a change on the creative team with Detective Comics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Manifold. I forget what side I saw it on. If it's all true, it makes sense. Issue number 41, it has Manifold doing the art. And then I guess on his Twitter feed, he said he showed the cover of it, and he said curtain call, whatever. And then I guess 40 issues, 42, 43, anything that's forecasted out. Fernando Pesarin is doing the art for Detective Comics.
Is Buccellato still writing it?
It still has Buccellato on there. And then I heard that, and this, if this happens, I will be so happy. We know that Tomasi, something's big's going to be happening with Tomasi around
Right.
fall time.
Right.
And I guess someone said Didio released that there's going to be an important release dealing with Detective Comics starting in October. So I'm jumping the gun here, but if that means the artist is going to be
Together?
going, yeah, get Tomasi in Detective Comics. Oh, that would be so good.
If he goes on, I'll be picking it up again. But that's a rumor, so.
Yeah.
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 Interesting. I'm not upset to see Maniple go off of Detective. I mean, there are aspects of Maniple's art I think are pretty, and there's aspects of Maniple's art that I don't like. I don't like his combat at all. I think his combat artwork is subpar. So
Over time, I mean, I'd almost give. I like the art. I understand what you're saying, and that's fine. But I almost want to give maybe more credit to Buccellato and the colors. Just that color palette, make it more enjoyable, maybe.
Mhm.
But I see what you're saying. You have the action stuff with Maniples up. I think what Buccellato brings with the colors. It's really, really nice.
Sure.
That's a good point.
Any other DC news? I can't think of anything off the top of my head that's come out that's.
My brain is full of the Marvel news, so I have no idea what DC news is.
Yeah. Lots of that stuff we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's move on. Let's move on to Marvel then. What are we reading from our books? Matt, you got lots of spider books. Let's talk spider books. I may actually have one of the spider books.
You don't have any?
No, I may actually have a spider book.
Do you?
Maybe.
Well, I got them all, so let's start off with... And I'm going to be nitpicky here, because I've been hearing people say it's Amazing Spider-Man #1, but if you look at the copyright, it actually is Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows #1, so it is like a limited offshoot series. Anybody else pick this up? It's the slot-ridden... So... I hope everyone's familiar with what was it? One More Day?
Yeah.
Mhm. Unfortunately, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, Spider-Man Deal with the Devil. They're kind of viewing like if that didn't happen, and it's an interesting take on like Peter Parker and going forward. The big deal with Venom and the Avengers playing in this whole crazy, like, epic story all in one comic, and where it leads off, I'm really curious about where they're going next. So, I don't know.
So it's a limited series.
I mean, whatever all this Secret Wars tie-in
And it is tied into Secret Wars. So this is like one of the universes that's colliding somewhere in the Secret Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know really much about how the whole Secret Wars thing is working, so I just know the little icons there, and there's a few weird... Like, there's a scene with Captain America, but instead of having the American kind of circular...
Star.
Whatever, here is an A, like Avengers kind of A on there. It's kind of weird looking. I don't know. There's some weird things throughout, but... I don't know.
So enjoyable?
I thought it was really cool, and it's a really, it's a different kind of take on the end of Spider-Man, if you will, in a way that I thought was more intriguing than Reign was, which was written years ago, and was trying to be like the Spider-Man version of the Dark Knight. I think this is more compelling than that. So.
Is his daughter Mayday Parker then?
No, maybe.
Oh, is that something that has to be a spoiler?
I think they say the baby's name once, so I'm trying to remember if they said me or not. I kind of glazed over it. I'm like, it's
Is it
their
Gwen?
kid.
Oh, all right.
Is it Gwen?
Is it Gwen? That would be messed up.
Yes.
Hey, babe, I want to name her baby after my big X. How do you feel
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. It's no big deal. Oh, wow. Oh.
I'm not finding fast enough. Sorry. Did anyone else read this or?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Take 2. Amazing Spider-Man 18.1.
Yep.
All right. I purposely went back and got this cover over that one.
Yeah, my shop just ran out of the primary cover. That's the only thing I had left was the variant. So
That's when you know the variant probably isn't the best, right?
yeah.
What did you think about this? Conway's return to Spider-Man.
I know we were talking about it before we went on. This is better than the main title has been going. These the point one story. And I like how we kind of get maybe a tie a little bit with what's happened with Black Cat and those back issues in the main story. How maybe it's all maybe starting to come together, maybe. But this wasn't bad. Art still has been good. These point ones. Who was the guy? Who was the guy that Black Cat ran into?
Mr.
Crime Master. Was that the guy's name?
Oh, the Crime Master. Yeah.
Yeah. Had no clue who that was.
He's an old Spider-Man villain who was from Conway's era.
Mm-hmm.
He was just kind of. He's just kind of one of the like mafioso kind of guys. They just put him in a funny mask because he was in a comic book at the time, and you couldn't just have really some dude in a suit and get it past editorial at the time. I don't think, at least not continually. Yeah. What struck me about this is like a big gangland fight, and in the background you kind of have some Peter Parker stuff, Parker Industries, but it's really about all these crime bosses going at it and Black Cat's going in the mix. And it's this huge thing, but this is written the way Conway writes, which was more of an older style. So each issue is supposed to kind of have its own chunk. It's not like really just part 3 of 6, which it is, but there's a little more to each issue, I feel, and that's part of what made it more satisfying to me, I guess, some of that old school writing.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Tombstone, he's in jail, and there's this power struggle really to regain the territory between, I'm not going to say who now, 2 big major villains, and I guess then Wraith. I kind of like what they're doing with Wraith in this. And the cliffhanger, I don't know who she did it to. I'll just kind of leave it kind of open, but I don't know.
But I mean, so in here we have Black Cat, we have the Enforcers, we have Mr. Negative. There's a whole bunch of characters in here. Pretty crazy.
And I'll give credit to, who's writing this again? Conway, yeah. It is a lot of stuff that's going on, and it doesn't really feel too jumbled up. It does seem kind of streamlined, so it's, I'm going to say, easy to follow. That would be right, but you're just not like totally confused, all these moving parts come along, so what I thought anyway.
Yeah, no, I think it's a lot, and it's delivered in a way that's completely palatable, so you're not lost. I think it's pretty solid, so. This is, to me, is more like how comics should be, darn it, back from before I was born, good old days.
Do we know how many issues these point ones are going? Is it 5, 6?
I thought it was around the 6th issue. I'm not 100% though. I don't look ahead a lot. What did you think about the art?
I thought the art was okay. I kind of like the Spider-Man scenes.
Yeah.
Maybe the colors, if anything, just the way they. Maybe it's a little blocky, but I like the art. Or just the colors, I'm sorry, of the way they kind of did with the red and blue. And Peter, I don't know, ever since the reboot of Spider-Man, I really haven't seen anyone draw Peter Parker all that well yet. But I thought Black Cat was drawn good. But yeah, if anything else, it's good. Colors are good. I just, for some reason, I don't know, Peter Parker, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, I just can't put my finger on it.
He's supposed to look a little like a dweeb, so.
And then he got the fresh hair. He looks so slick. I don't know if you can see that. He got
Yeah,
that-
yeah. Well, you can afford a haircut now.
Yeah.
To me, Barbieri is kind of reminiscent of Ramos's style, but not going so cartoony, so you don't get those ankles that like come to a point or
Yeah.
whatever. But you were talking about the colors. It's Israel Sylvia. I don't
Mm.
follow colors that closely, but I thought the colors were fine as long as you didn't get to skin tones. But if you had a close up on a skin tone face, it looked kind of flat, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair, Chris. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at the Enforcers right now. As you said that, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still, like I said, this is. I know you agree. This is better than the main story arc was. So.
It's fair. It's freaking solid. There's one last Spider book. They're going for the hat trick. Spider Woman?
Yeah! Spider-Woman!
Oh hey, and Brandon too.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been blabbering. What did you guys think of this one?
I like the part where Spider-Woman fought the person in the alien suit.
Yeah. The cover actually is, part of the comic. Holy crap.
Yeah, what's up with that? So, end of the arc, basically, right?
Yeah, end of the arc. And I mean, Spider-Woman's been dealing with this weird, city off the map.
Right.
Right.
Secret little city that's kind of under the radar of everybody.
Right. And just the idea of that, and the fact that the kidnappings were tied in, all that, I thought it was a really cool arc. 8 issues seems a little long to get as far as we did, but now that we're here, I'm really happy with this. It feels like, to me, what superhero comics are supposed to be. She doesn't have, like, a personal investment in this as much,
Right.
just enough to get her involved. And,
That's actually
really-
a really good point. I didn't think of that.
And really, it isn't 8 issues. This is really only 3. Right?
that's true.
Because I picked it up at issue 5 once Greg Land was off the book, and it wasn't tied into was it Spider-Verse? Because the first couple issues were really heavily tied into that, and so I started on it when the new costume came on and the Rodriguez, the artist, came on the book because I liked him. I thought it might be fun because I do like Jessica. I do like the character, so that's why I jumped on. So it's really three issues to get us through this. This exploration of, why are all these grade D supervillains being blackmailed into robbing ridiculous stuff to make money, and which is all fun. I mean, I thought it was fun. I think it's an interesting, issue. I really enjoyed it. The spousal abuse that has to do with, the person that created this place and whatnot. What, did she just snap? I mean, is that why she goes so wholesale violent on her?
Now that
part
you
was a little.
I'm kind of the other way. Like, it was 3 issues, right? And that was kind of glossed over, and that seems like a really big point.
Yeah, they nailed that down in 2 pages to give us why she is where she is and stuff, which is fine. So we're supposed to accept that her level of violence is because she just snapped because she doesn't want to go back to whatever that was, so she becomes the abuser herself.
Well, how much justification do we need for a supervillain usually?
Well, none, but it's there. So, and they show me those pages, which to give me that back history. So then it clearly must be relevant. So that's why I think about it. If they wouldn't have showed it, it would have never. She was just protecting her city and wanted to get rid of her. Okay, but when they give us that back history of her being an abuse spouse, then it adds baggage for me to think about, I guess. So
yeah, no, that's fair. It was, that's kind of janky, but yeah.
I'm excited to see where the book goes from here. I think it's going to be fun. I mean, they got this kind of cool setup. She's working with Ben Urich, and he's got this. He's got a whole bunch of files of not really stories he wants to tell so much as he wants to be a hero too, and this is his way of being a hero. Is he's got all this information, and so she can go out and kind of explore stuff. I think that, to me, that's a fun setting for lots of story, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
No, the whole Ben Urch thing. Ben Urch is one of my favorite Marvel characters. So since he's one of the main characters, I'm like, I'm on. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's all going to be. I think that's going to be cool and whatnot. And looking at the, the pages in here that are, like the cover to the next one, like the what's coming, looks like it's going to be fun because it looks like, it looks like, what's his face is going to still be with them. What's it? Yeah. What deal with that? Porcupine. So and he was kind of a fun, goofy character. So I mean, the interaction between those three could be lots of fun. I think. And it says it's on sale in July. So this book hasn't been screwed up by Secret Wars yet.
Well, Spider-Man I know has a Last Days tie-in at some point.
Spider-Woman does?
Yeah, it was announced a while back that it's got a Last Days one coming up, but outside of that, I don't know.
So
maybe
we can
tie-in. Sometimes Marvel does it right, and the main stories get to just continue, and then because they want it there, the side issue is like a one-shot for whatever they need, and they.
Well, I mean, when we get to the Marvel news part, we'll discuss that a little more on leaving these main titles alone.
Well, I had one big point about Spider-Woman that I wanted to bring up before I moved on. The lettering is amazing. In the fight scenes, you get the, like, ka-chink, thrrts, and all that classic is right there, and I couldn't have been happier with that.
Yeah, the traditional old-school sound effects that go along with the wrecking of something. And whatnot.
One of these.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really happy with the book. I'm glad I got on it.
Cool. Well, all the other Marvel I get is delayed, so.
I could talk about Secret Wars.
Sweet. Issue number 3.
No, you can't. It's a secret.
Yeah. And I picked it up because I'm like, hey, this is only $3.99, and I saw that number 2 was $5.99. And of course, I got to pick out the special.
Mike, who did the cover on that?
I think it's going to be the classic Kingdom Come.
Ross,
yeah,
Alex
I think
Ross.
Alex Ross is doing all the covers.
That's him.
It looks good. Yeah.
Yep. In this storyline, Doctor Doom is God over all of the battle world, and Stephen Strange is his sheriff of Agamotto, and they are trying to figure out what they're going to do with this pod that has all the all the bad guys from the Ultimate Universe has landed on the bottom side of Battle World, and so it's like there's a top side that has gravity, and if you go far enough under, then there's a bottom side that has gravity. And all the bad guys are underneath, and people are starting to figure out that the sun is going around Battle World. It's actually almost flat, is what I'm guessing. And is what they're figuring is that the sun is going around moving, and the Battle World is stationary. So people are starting to figure out this isn't right. There's things that are, they don't remember what has happened, and it's been 8 years since the planets started smashing into each other. And we find that out in this issue. So the bad guys are underneath, and the good guys... What?
8 years?
Yeah, 8 years is what... Because there is another spaceship, and that has some of the good guys from the 616, and Stephen Strange finally releases these people, because he figured out when the bad guys came out of the one, he's like, well, I have this other one that I've had sitting around for 3 years. I should probably open it. And he does, and it's Reed Richard and, Black Panther and all them, and they're like, what's going on? He goes, yeah, well, it's not so much where we are, when. It's 3 years, it's 8 years later. And they're like, well, how long have we been here? And he goes, like, 3 years. He was like, why didn't you open it? So, it is just interesting. I mean, with Doctor Doom in charge, it is this all different world, and Susan Storm is his consort, and she removes his mask. And if you've ever wanted to know what Doom looked like,
Oh, somebody bit off his nose.
Yeah. So that was a nice little shock, because he has all this godlike power, but he can't fix his face. And there's certain things he still can't do. And there's these uprisings against him that we've seen in previous episode or previous issue. So now it's getting it's moving a little bit faster. I mean, we've got some more good guys who all hate Doom, and what are we going to do with what are they going to do? All the bad guys are wandering the bottom of the planet. What's going to happen with them? So it's been good.
So I've been hearing a lot of people really liking it.
It's a little tough because I don't know. Obviously, they're going to have to kick it back to what they decide they want this all new Marvel world to be. So that's the only part. I don't know what we're going with into this. So that's what makes it interesting. Right now, everything is possible, which we haven't seen in a long time. So.
Cool.
Yep.
Any other Marvel books?
I got Superior Iron Man.
Right on.
So
Curious
this
about
is
this
this is another book that's kind of tough for me to talk about because this is actually the last issue of the series. I actually had it confirmed. I tweeted Tom Taylor and he said it was because I knew it was on that list of books that was supposed to be canceled coming up to Secret Wars, and this was the last issue solicited. So I had to tweet him to confirm, and yes, this is the last issue. I think I talked to you about the last issue, but basically what's been going on is Tony Stark that we have now is his mind's been altered, and Tony Stark had a backup plan. He pretty much implanted himself into like a memory drive, and now he's pretty much put his psyche from the past in old Iron Man suits to battle his new self and stop him. This pretty much became just an epic battle of like one advanced symbiotic style Iron Man suit against a whole bunch of Iron Man old suits, and it just becomes a big epic battle. Is pretty much what happened. I think the character who really stands out in this series, in this issue in particular, was Pepper, because I've never been a big Iron Man fan, so I haven't read a lot of Iron Man in the past. So I haven't read a bunch of Pepper. I got a bunch with Pepper in it either, but I think Pepper Potts really stood out in this issue. With her obviously rescue on the cover and all that. I thought she played a big part in this series. I don't really know how I feel about how the book actually ended, because it ended in a way that almost feels like it kind of just ended abruptly, sort of. Like, I feel like there was more story that could have been told, but it had to be stopped because Secret Wars happened. Like, it almost felt like the author was kind of strapped for time a little bit. Like, this story arc concluded, but they hinted at where the story would have gone, and I feel like there was more story that could have been flushed out there. So I'm kind of on how it ended, but the journey was really, really fun all the way through. One part that I thought was really, really hilarious was during the battle, because Tony Stark's lab is or headquarters or whatever is in San Francisco, they end up going to the Golden Gate Bridge, and Tony Stark, like President Tony Stark is like, no, we can't do this here, and he's like, oh, really? You're pressing for time? He goes, no, we just can't do this at Golden Gate Bridge. It's too cliche. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, it's been a fun series. I really enjoyed the whole entire series, but just the ending was kind of left me like there could have been more that could have been happened, but
yeah,
I enjoyed it. That's all I can really say about that, I think.
So potentially a victim of Secret Wars. Shutting it down early.
Well, I know it is, because Marvel News, they announced a new creative team for the new Iron Man book. We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, it is a casualty.
Yeah. Yeah. Breathing new life into the character.
Yeah.
So somebody at Marvel must not have been impressed with what was going on.
Well, everyone I talked to with that series liked it. So.
I know, it's the same
Yeah.
here, but the way they've been on social media the last 2 days, talking like that Bendis is going to come and save the book.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't know.
At least that's how I was reading that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so any other Marvel books you want to talk about? No.
All right, Marvel news.
So we can roll into Marvel news. All new
boy.
Marvel now, Marvel now. 60 new titles.
Yeah.
Right?
Holy
60
crap.
new titles. So pretty much every Marvel book that's out right now will be gone, and there'll be 60 new books. Because there's no way they're adding 60 books on top of some of the books that are out now, right? I would assume that some of those 60 books are Ms. Marvel coming back, and that sort of stuff. Clearly, Iron Man's coming back. Bendis is writing it. I can't remember who's going to be on art.
David Marquez is doing the artwork on the Iron Man book. One of the things Axel Alonso did say is Kamala Khan's going to be a big part of Marvel Universe in the future, so she's sticking around. So
for
sure.
Right, we know she's going to have her own title. She's in the new Avengers.
Yeah, right. The all new, all different.
Different Avengers, which has at least 3 young people on the team, along with some senior people, as we saw. If anybody picked up the free issue that came out for Free Comic Book Day. But we've got a new Wolverine. Well, actually, Logan's sticking around. We're getting Old Man Logan, right?
Right.
And we're assuming X-23 as Wolverine.
I think it was confirmed. Well, we know that the character in that picture was X-23 in the Wolverine's old yellow spandex garb.
Right.
But I don't know if she's going to take on the mantle and be called Wolverine. I've assumed. But I'm pretty sure.
She's dressed.
I assume. So I'm presuming, yes, she's going to be the new Wolverine.
I mean, I would assume so, too, because it'd be kind of weird. It'd be like somebody dressing up in the old Superman costume and calling themselves, I don't know, something different. Amazing Man, as opposed to Superman, even though you're dressed exactly like him. So
Yeah.
So, how many books do we actually... Do you have an idea, Brent, how many books have actually confirmed this is what we're going to have? But they showed us 2 big pictures, right, that has a strew of characters across it.
Yeah, then there's so many different things we could talk about.
There's like 4 Human Torches. I don't know how many there are.
I'll be honest, I didn't really look
one.
at the Human... I don't know about the Human Torch part.
There's more than one.
One of the characters, I think, comes from Inferno. One of the ones on fire is coming from that Inferno book, which I'm not too familiar. Daredevil is his uniform is more looked like his Netflix series uniform, which is primarily black with red lettering, which I thought was kind of interesting. They mentioned that certain characters are going to join different teams. So you got the Thing in a Guardians of the Galaxy uniform, which is like, okay. They said there's going to be a new Hulk. It's not going to be Bruce Banner. I don't know. I don't follow the Hulk, so I didn't really. But,
I don't either, but does that mean it's a Red Hulk then? Or literally we're going to have a green guy walking around that's not Bruce?
I thought that's what they hinted at, was somebody else besides Bruce.
Yeah.
Ah. I see they had Doctor Strange there in one of the pictures, right? Packing an axe of some sort.
Nope.
Not sure what that's up with that.
The one thing Axel Alonso said, and he pretty much said something that we've kind of all knew was coming, is that Marvel is sort of embracing this seasonal approach to their lineup. So it seems like they're going to change their universe all the time. And I kind of knew that's where they're headed, but they actually came out and said that they're going to embrace that approach. Yeah.
I just love the fact that people are still fighting over relaunch and reboot.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, really. Tomato, tomato. Why don't they just call the whole thing off? I mean, they don't want to. I guess it's not a reboot in that they're not throwing anything out, but clearly they're relaunching everything, so they can tell new stories, right?
Right.
And
switch creative teams around.
But isn't that basically what a reboot is too? You're starting over. You're just going to tell a new story. That's what they're doing with the relaunch. They're just telling a new story. So, I don't know.
Mm.
The argumentative fanboy in me just kind of gets irritated that somehow, DC was horrible for what they did, 2.5 years ago with their rebooting of their universe, but somehow this is all going to be okay, even though it's really the same thing.
And Axel Alonso also hinted that there's gonna be another person in a Spider-Man suit, and I'm like, so you got Peter Parker, Miles, and another one. And it's like, that's too many in my opinion, but okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't want a third one.
Who would
Also,
that be?
the suits.
I have no idea. I have no idea who it would be, but it's just like I don't see a need for a third one, but okay. What else was there? So back to Iron Man. They basically said that their approach to this new season is they want to focus heavily on Iron Man because they see Iron Man as like the most recognizable character in their movie universe, but not in their comic universe, and they want to change that. So they want to make Iron Man more of the top guy at Marvel, and they want to focus a lot of their time on Iron Man and make him more of a recognizable guy in comic books. Which is why they put Bendis on there, because they treat Bendis as like their flagship guy, right?
Yep. Clearly.
So I thought, and yeah, honestly, that doesn't really intrigue me enough to continue with Iron Man, but I don't know. I think I really just have to see what else they're going to offer in their 60-ish. I still can't believe they're doing 60 titles. That still seems like a lot to me.
Ryan C. just said that they didn't specify 60. They said be somewhere between 55 and 60.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it says like 60-ish is what I saw.
Okay,
but,
so
yeah.
so it's 55 regular titles, and then they'll have their 5 event books going on all the time, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
So how does this work with like Amazing Spider-Man per se? They gonna reboot it #1, or is it?
Oh no,
Oh,
no!
yeah.
It's Marvel. There's no reboot. It's a relaunch.
I'm sorry, relaunch. Is it gonna relaunch at
Reshuffle.
#1, or is it
Yeah,
keep going?
I bet every single book gets a #1.
That
Whether
was-
it's 8 issues in or it's 20 issues in, I would be shocked if they don't all get #1s.
Yeah, they're all going to #1.
That
I always get reminded of the Spaceballs sketch. It's like, so this is Marvel now. Well, when will now be then? Now. You know what I mean? The Spaceballs
now.
sketch.
No.
what were you gonna say, Matt?
I was gonna say, I'm wondering if Slott's going to stay on Spider-Man still, because he's been on
I
there
hope not.
forever. I'm torn because I want to see someone new on it, but he's barely had any bad issues. Just the transitions between Superior, really. So, I don't know.
Dan Slott just got exhausting for me. I didn't get into this all new Amazing Spider-Man run. I just could not get into it. I wanted someone else to really start. I think with any writer, if you're on a book for too long, it starts to become sort of like been there, done that, no matter how good the book is. And I just think Dan Slott just brings a certain tone that I'm just so used to. I want to shake up with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I would like someone else to do it.
So, how long does somebody have to be on something before you reach that point, Brad?
I don't know. Maybe that depends on the person, but like Bendis with Avengers, everyone loved Bendis on Avengers, but at the end, his last Avengers stuff, no. I know. I think it just at some point, I think every writer and artist has a shelf life on a book.
Because historically, there were some massive runs by some people,
Yeah.
in the 80s and whatnot, where you had creators on books for, years and years, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And it seems like we went through a period where some of us were complaining that the creators weren't on books long enough to establish a long run of something, especially when then coupled with this Marvel's way of approaching it. When they get a new creative team, they shit can the numbering system and start over again. That it really felt like you weren't getting any longevity. And I'm not complaining. I mean, certainly I'm going to too. After you reach a certain point, it does start to feel like the writers said everything they're going to say, and now they're making things up. No, that's not a good word, because clearly they're always making stuff up, but it starts feeling like they're just kind of going through the motions. So,
But then it's conditions based. It's not time. It's when the quality now suffers, it should be the time for the creative team to move on. But again, they're telling great stories, and it's years. Hey, keep going as long as you're telling good stories.
Sure.
And I'm not knocking Dan Slott, because Dan Slott wrote a lot of great stuff with Spider-Man. Like, I'm not going to discount all his writing. Like, I like what
Right.
Dan Slott's done, but just now...
You're ready for something new.
Yeah, I just need something to revitalize my interest in the character, I think.
That's how I am with That's how I am with Justice League. I got nothing against Jeff Johns really. I just am tired of Jeff Johns on the book. So
Yeah.
And Dan Slott's been on the book in one way or another for 7 years now.
it's a long time.
Yeah.
And typically doing more than an issue a month.
Yeah. Yeah, really, Spider-Man now is Dan Slott, right? I mean, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just Dan Slott swinging around.
Well, I mean, 7 years effectively is, he's coming up on a decade really of. I mean, there's going to be lots of people that if you're reading just the current comics, that's it. Their information is Dan Slott. That's their informative. All there
Right.
has been. So.
And I don't know how many writers on Spider-Man have had that much time with the character. I think it's very few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a small number. I don't even think was Stan Lee even on it that long?
I don't know. I don't know how long. I
Yeah.
don't know how long Stan was on the book before his name finally dropped off of it.
Yeah. Oh, so.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So I mean, it'll be. I guess there's two sides to the whole. This announcement that there's going to be 55 to 60 titles. That's either really exciting because there's all this new stuff that's going to be out there to, possibly jump into, or if you love the books you're reading right now, it's a nightmare because you don't know if your book's coming back or what condition it's going to come back in, who's going to be on it, until they start really announcing a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
And-
Now the creative teams and stuff. Yeah.
Right, and clearly it's not all going to happen at once. It's going to be a trickle in, trickle out, just like this whole Secret Wars stuff. Some of these titles are slowly drifting off, and new things are picking up in their place. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm curious to see what's coming.
Another character they said that will play a big role is Black Panther, and that's a character I've always found
Really?
underappreciated. So I wouldn't mind seeing a Black Panther ongoing. Because I'd pick that up, because I like to support the fringe characters.
I'd be curious as to how they're going to write that character to make him a significant person in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
He's a king
Well,
of a nation. It shouldn't take a lot of extra pushing.
Sure, he's the king of a little place.
But I think they're going to replace Reed Richards with him, basically, that spot. Like, everybody's going to go to T'Challa for science and for, dimensional stuff, so...
And just to play devil's advocate, cynical comic book fan, this has nothing to do with the fact that, of course, there's a movie rolling out at some point with him, so they need to make sure that he's
true.
getting pimped really well to match up to the movie aspect of it.
Well, to be fair to them,
I'm not complaining. I mean, I like the character. I mean, I think the character's cool.
Yeah.
It's just, the way that, unless they're radically changing the way the Marvel Universe works, it just seems... I don't know, it always feels to me like they're isolationist to a certain degree. That country and them and whatnot. So why would they suddenly... I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about it the wrong way.
No. On one of these images, I'm seeing Hyperion and Citizen V from Thunderbolts before they did all the reveals. Those two are sticking out to me. Like, what are they doing with those guys? Because I don't think there's any movies coming around or anything.
No,
and,
the Squadron Supreme people.
Yeah, like...
Right, there's a couple of them, right? But they're... Yeah. We don't know in what aspect these characters are going to get used. We just know that they're going to be there and they're going to be in something. I haven't done a head count to count mutants versus Inhumans, but...
Well, outside of Wolverine, I'm not seeing any X characters.
Yeah, Travis, with your collection of Wolverines, do we know what's going on with that?
No, because I dropped it a long time ago, you turkey. Oh, that was awful. And no, Ryan C., that was not a slip of me commenting on Stan Lee when he was done writing versus when his name dropped off the book. Because clearly his name was on the book a lot longer than he actually had a whole lot of input. But yeah.
Marvel's also bringing back this character from the 70s called Red Wolf. I'm not familiar with this character.
You and everyone.
Yeah, a Native American Marvel character from the 70s who will play a part in the upcoming Secret Wars series, 1872. I don't know who that character is, but they're
I-
making a deal about it, so
I have some Marvel Western books that have the character in it.
yeah.
I mean, he just is. You know, I mean, like a lot of those cowboy Western characters, they just kind of like Two Gun Kid. They're not. I mean, why they decided to randomly pull that character out and make them something,
I don't know either.
My guess is they had a diversity checklist, and they're like, who do we have that we can throw in? And which, I mean, honestly, I don't even feel that that's that cynical. Like, I think it's cool that they're pulling out a character to do something with Native Americans and do something with it. Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
cool, let's see where they go. I'm sure if you were to talk to Indians nowadays, though, the whole, like, tribal thing, shirtless with just a loincloth, might be a little... for some people, but
Well, it depends on where he's from, because
I think more when.
well, right, that's what I meant. So I mean, so if he's both, you know, both geographically, where is he from, and what time frame that he's from, it's okay because it is what it is. But clearly, if he is a modern day character, why? You know, why is he?
Well, and maybe they'll Moon Knight it where that's just the image they give us, and then they'll give us all these new outfits that he'll wear instead.
Sure. Well, I'm all for them using a Native American character if they're going to, you know, use it appropriate and whatnot. That'll be cool. You could tell some interesting stuff, or they can make it really bad. I mean, that's
Apache Chief.
yeah, it could be a pretty serious landmine that they could put themselves into. So I don't know as far as that goes. Yeah, it'll be interesting. But like I said, I'm curious about the number of. There's at least 2, if not 3, Human Torches. It looks like in there. I think so. Be fascinated to see. One of them must be the robot, right?
Toro, yeah.
Toro, yeah. Yeah.
But are they working on marginalizing the Fantastic Four, right? Because the whole movie stuff.
Yep.
Marginalize them, marginalize the X-Men, and move all their other movie franchise stuff up the foreground. You know. Cool. Any other Marvel news you want to talk about? In there.
The only other thing I heard was like there was a rumor going around that Jason Statham was going to play Bullseye in the second season of Daredevil, but that got debunked, so that was it.
Okay.
I know.
That's probably a good thing, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I don't know.
I hope there's at least a YouTube video now.
So I don't know about that.
But I'm all for them putting Bullseye in the next next season of that show. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, apparently Daredevil's losing his red suit that he just got and is
Right.
going back to some black.
Well,
jumpsuit.
that looks like the TV show.
Yeah.
Well, they gave him the red suit at the end of the show. What's the?
Well, kind of, but it had black parts in it and was more padded and yeah. At any rate, so it sounds like we're done talking Marvel.
Yep.
Marvel relaunch, not reboot, and so let's move on to the indie books. What have we been reading indie-wise that we want to talk about?
Non-player?
Hey!
Okay, let's talk.
Is that the one that had like the 3-year break in between?
4-year.
I thought it was
break.
5.
4-year
No,
break?
4-year break between. I thought it was 5.2, but I went back and did the math from when I met him at a con before the issue number 1 came out. But yeah, 4-year break between issue 1 and issue 2. What do we think?
I was very happy with it. I mean, I just picked up non-player number 1 last week, third printing.
Mhm.
So it was fresh in my mind going through, and it is a little tough to figure out reality-wise, what is supposed to fit in where. I'm getting a better sense of it now that I can see. They're talking about the implants into their head. I don't remember what they called it, the ear, whatever. But I just thought it was, it seems to be really smart on how it's written, that it's got some kind of very deep plot, so I'm very happy to start digging into this.
Okay. Matt, what you think?
I mean, I'm enjoying it. I do feel, because it's supposed to be a 6-issue mini, that there's parts that are rushed, especially since you're jumping between realities. Maybe just a little better tell sometimes would be nice, because the art's fabulous, but there's no kind of tell between reality and fiction. And maybe that's part of the point, but it's kind of jarring. And to me, I don't know, but it's really cool to get a Western kind of take on something that's halfway between like Ghost in the Shell and Sword Art Online. This is like manga inspired or anime inspired, and seeing that on this side, like, it's fascinating to me. So I'm digging it.
Anybody else pick up this book? No. I haven't read issue number 1 since it came out. Since I got it on my pull 4 years ago. I distinctly remember it being a very gorgeous book. It basically being 100% planted into this fantasy reality where you're not sure when you're reading it, that isn't just the real world up until the end after she executes the queen, right? And then and then at the very end she goes off to her job delivering tamales or whatever it is that she was doing. So it's this gorgeous book of people riding dinosaurs, wonderful high fantasy stuff. And then this issue we get kind of a brief overview of the people who are pitching, who are selling the game, if that's what you want to call it, basically a violent version of Second Life or whatever. And then we fall into a almost, I don't know what I want to call it. It's so different. It's so different than the first issue. Because the first issue is all that, and then we drop into a whole nother thing here. It seems that aspect of it seems strange to me. I liked both issues, but to me they almost don't fit together yet.
All right.
Just because of how much energy was spent on that first issue being the way it was, it feels like the story changed and what was going to happen and what was going on. By the time he got to doing issue 2, and has got himself together, the creator, and making the book that maybe tonally it changed, maybe some. I don't know. Maybe this was always what was the intention. It just feels so different. Lots of stuff I loved about this. I love the robot that's sitting in the in the fish market, basically taking people out with fish. Yeah. He's pulling the Pike's Place throwing fish thing, but he's taking it to like the uber level. I mean, he literally throws a marlin through a robot, through one of these mechs here, which is hilarious, and he's spouting Latin and demanding that one of the popes get released or something, and that pope is dead. So there's aspects there. Part of it felt very Minority Report also too, though, with all the people plugged into the, they have like a computer bank of people who are hooked into a supercomputer, and they're rendering possible outcomes. Yep. I liked it. I don't know. It between the two issues, it feels fractured in some way, though.
Cognitivity Unlimited Bulwark.
Right. Cube.
Yeah. Entity, yes. I also did like Alan and his dirty robot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's a physical robot. So that's kind of like the Alex and Ada as far as well, and she recognizes his avatar, but not him. Right. So until he plugs in a piece of like an antenna into the side of her head, she sees him as this stereotypical computer gamer geek guy, and then he plugs that in, and then suddenly he's this gorgeous looking blue skinned horned warrior dude.
And I think the ear hook that they all have in their head, I think that is going to play a big part into this too, because it seemed to be something where he plugs it into her, and then the cop has an issue with his.
He refused. Well, the one guy
Yeah.
refuses to wear one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. And then, like you said, those precogs, they seem to all have them too. So it seems like that's going to be a major plot point.
Yeah.
Also curious to see if it stays on track.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you think he's got it all written out?
I think he has a story idea. I don't know how far into production he really is, though. I don't know.
Well, when we see the third issue, half a decade from now.
Right. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, but I do.
Was it worth the wait?
I
Just ask the
forgot
obvious
about
question.
it. Yeah.
Oh, see, now I never forgot about it. I follow the guy on Twitter, and occasionally he'll post. He has a blog site also, and he would occasionally post what's going on with him, and so all the way along, I've kind of had an idea of why the book has taken so long to come out, which has been fine. I mean, life happens or whatever, but I haven't been sitting on the edge of my seat this whole time, going, "Oh my gosh, issue number 2 is here." Yes, my life feels complete. It's an enjoyable story. It's cool. If it had come out back then, 4 years ago, I would think it was a lot cooler. Partially because the type of comics that are being produced right now, there's a lot of other stuff that itches parts of these things. Not completely, because I think Matt's right, and the fact is that this really does have a lot of elements of a Western approach to a lot of the manga type stuff. So for me, was it worth the wait? I don't know, because it wasn't like I was. I didn't wake up every night or every morning going, "God, when's No Player number 2 going to come out?" It's so far gone that for months after I read issue 1, I was going, "Man, when are we going to get issue number 2?" 4 years later, no.
I mean, also, there's only one issue. There's not quite the anticipation of, the last issue of Planetary or something.
Right. Completely
so-
different. Yeah.
And just to clarify, because I know I've heard different things from different places. It was just life kind of got in the way. This wasn't a medical issue that had happened to him, correct?
Well, he had medical issues along the way. I mean,
right.
It got released, and as soon as it got released, it exploded. It got movie deals, TV deals, video game deals. It got every deal you could possibly think of. People were throwing everything at him. Everybody thought it was the best thing since sliced bread, kind of a deal. So he was starting to panic over the oh my God, now I've got to make a whole bunch more issues. Then he got in a mountain bike crash and busted his collarbone in 6 different places. So, and it was his drawing arm. So it completely immobilized that side of his body. So he's trying to produce it. He's trying to produce it left-handed, and he fell into the trap of no page was good enough. He would draw a complete page, get it done, and then he would throw it away because he just knew it wasn't going to be as good as the last issue, and he just kept panicking, and he just kept redoing and redoing. At some point, I think, as creators, they have to learn this is as good as it's going to get for now and go on because you have deadlines. And he just, the deadlines went out the door, and he just kind of got stuck in this. How am I ever going to compete with my first issue? People love that so much. I'm afraid I can never do it again, and then that's part of what ate him up too. That, and then he lost all of his money. So then he had to go back to having a day job, and then he got married, he had kids, all that life stuff gets in the way. So to finish the second issue, he's been waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and doing it until he has to go to his day job. So
when you say all the life stuff, you mean all of the life stuff?
All. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So everything you got going in your life, then produce an entire comic book by yourself.
Yeah.
With no money to do it. I mean, so that's really your free time is being spent, and how much do you ignore your kids? How much do you ignore your wife? How much do you ignore eating or exercise to get that done? So,
You have
I
to feel
can't.
for him too. That's like going from such a high to everything you just said. Just have
Yeah.
to start over again. You feel bad for him.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, coming in fresh, I was really enjoying it. You know,
Sure.
I read the first one, I've read the second one. I felt it was a perfect transition.
Yeah.
Well, I guess within art wise, within the story could be changing, but we've seen that with other stories where we expect something going in, it comes out
Sure.
differently. So I'm a little bit more free flowing with letting it change, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm wrong. I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought
Yeah.
I did. I liked it. I'm looking forward to the next 4 issues to see what what we're really going to get for a story. I just hope it really comes. So, yeah. What else do you want to talk about? Let's talk Wicked and Divine.
That's the only independent book I've read. The other ones I haven't read yet.
Okay, so let's talk Wicked and Divine. And me and Brennan talked some about this before we came on the air because we're not sure how to talk about it. Because clearly, just look at the cover alone, that kind of gives you a sense of, oh, I don't know. Because of course, that is a nice bloody stump where a head used to be. Because, of course, all the covers up until this is issue number 11 have had these wonderful mug shots of the different gods.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't.
This is a tough one to talk about, I know.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like I know a lot of people are reading this in trade, so I don't want to say a whole lot because there's stuff in here that I think both me and Brandon will agree caught us completely off guard. As far as death and dismemberment that happens in this issue.
Well, maybe not as much because I read it later. Like, I didn't pick my books up on Wednesday, so I heard all the excitement, like, oh my god, something big happened, so I'm expecting something big happening. Not exactly the nature of what it was, but I knew something was going to happen.
Right, right. Well, yeah, I kind of dodged the internet. I mean, my son follows the Tumblr page, and he goes, oh, wow, I hear there's spoilers. Somebody posted underneath there, on Kieran Gillian's Tumblr page, somebody actually, before the comic was released, had gotten free and posted the spoilers on their Tumblr. And so I was like, so I'm like, okay, I'm ignoring the internet. Anytime I see anything that might say Wicked Divine, I'm like clicking away from it as fast as I can. And so when my books came in Friday, this is the first book I read because it hadn't been spoiled yet. And to tell you the truth, I didn't even know what the cover looked like. So when I got the cover, I was like, oh, But I had heard
a bad omen.
Right, but I had heard something big happened in it. But I had heard something big had happened in the last issue, or 2 issues ago, and I hadn't read it yet. And I went to Emerald City Comic Con, and they were like, ooh, we don't want to spoil anything. And they were showing me these pictures, and I didn't know what they were of because I didn't realize that somebody had become a god, yet. I didn't realize that. So for me, it was like, oh, what everybody else thought was a big deal. To me, it wasn't that big deal. I mean, it was interesting. So I thought maybe that's what this was going to be. It was another one of those people who were thinking it was a huge deal, and for me, it was going to be like, no. This was like.
With every new issue, there's always going to be some excitement and people talking about it. So I was like, okay, are people talking about this issue more because there's legitimately something big happening, or is a lot of that influx about the fact there's news that Wicked and Divine got picked up for a TV series or something, and maybe that's blown that up?
Yeah.
So I was kind of waiting. I was like, is it this or that, or maybe a little bit of both? But yeah, I kind of figured something big was going to happen after what I'd heard. But yes, I did dodge all the spoilers, like I did with Deadly Class, because I didn't get that until this week either. So I was able to dodge that from last week too.
But yeah, I mean, I really, really like this issue. In this issue in particular, they build up one aspect. They span a couple pages of you just kind of setting it home that this is what it's going to be. This is the status quo. This is the status quo, and then
psych.
Twice in a matter of like 3 pages, they hit you with, nope, this ain't the status quo, surprise, and then double surprise. So yeah, but cool way to end an arc, right? Because this is the end of an arc, isn't it? This is the end of an arc, because from here on, isn't the next issues from here on out? It's not the Cavion art, right? It's because he's off doing the art for Phonogram. So don't we now?
Oh, I didn't even know that. Who is taking over?
They're having guest artists do.
Oh, that's right.
And they're
I remember hearing that.
They're going to tell us different eras of the different gods to kind of give us the, because they don't want to stop the book, but they also want to produce phonograms. So of course the creator, the artist can only do one book at a time. So while he's off doing phonogram, they're going to have guest artists help them tell these other stories.
Okay.
So is this going to be a massive cliffhanger? I don't know 100%, but I think this was the last issue of the regular team. So now we're going to be hung out on this holy crap stuff for, I don't know.
I didn't even think of that. That's okay. Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. Ask me a couple months later. I don't really know.
Great issue though. At least
yeah,
I
it
thought
was.
so. All around awesome issue. Exciting stuff. So
Is it known for like gory stuff? Just looking at the cover throughout the series, that's just a cover thing.
no, it's not really gory. I mean, there have been some violent things in it. I mean, there have been some people who have, well, a character gets their head blown off earlier on,
Yeah.
and that's pretty gory. But it's not like it's constant violence. It's not like, it's not like
It's not like Punisher Max or something.
right. There's lots of other stuff that goes on, but when violence happens, it's not small. It's not little. You're talking people who have deity level power, and they don't joke around. When they decide someone's going away, they are gone. So.
Okay.
But no, it's not really.
No.
That's not really violent. But for those of you people who are trade waiting on it, it's going to be exciting when you get to that issue, that part of the trade.
I'm just curious to see how that book's gonna show off without McKelvey's artwork, because I think what makes that book, a lot of it is the vibrant artwork that McKelvey brings. So I'll be interested to see what the other artists can do with that.
Yeah, I can't remember offhand. I think there was a partial list someplace that said some of the first people that are going to be on it.
I can't remember.
I want to say that Tula Latoy isn't just doing variant covers; that she's actually doing an issue, but I don't know that 100%. And if that
sounds right.
If she is doing a full issue, I'm at least excited for that issue just because I like her stuff, and I think that she has not the same vibe, but the right kind of vibe to do a story like this justice, I think. Yeah. Okay, cool. Any other? Matt, what'd you get for indie books?
Did anyone else pick up the Mutanimals #4?
Dang it! No, I didn't.
Well, it was cool. Okay. Zero? Wow, that cover does not go on the internet.
Oh, it does not, does it?
That's a book that I hear so many good things about at my
Same here.
shop and all that, but I just never picked it up when it came out.
Well, I just picked up the dollar reprint of it, so they're trying to definitely
issue
bring more
one?
attention. Issue 1, yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird title, but it's really cool, and you can sit there and keep reading into this. And I've been finding some cool people on YouTube talking about this and digging into different references and different sort of things it's talking about, because it's all over the map with literary references, talking about now revealed secret ops, crazy CIA stuff. It's really intricate and it's super interesting, and it uses the format of being a comic brilliantly. And I don't even know, it's crazy spy and drug stuff, and I could try to tell you about this issue, but honestly, it was so freaking trippy, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
So remind me about this book. One of the things about it is every issue has a different artist on it. Is that right?
I think they've started rotating back through some of them,
Okay,
but
so
pretty much, yeah.
And so is it telling the same story through it, or is each issue its own story?
I mean, it comes together, but each issue is its own little chunk.
Okay.
On one hand, I want to say, you, especially early on, you could pick up the issues and get something out of it, but as it's been going on more and more, and as I've talked to a couple of people who tried picking it up halfway through, you kind of have to go back to the beginning because it gets so intricate. Like it just doesn't really make sense.
It's on my list of real trades I wanna get. So
Okay.
as opposed to I'm gonna get that in trade.
Okay. This is one of the few Image titles that is just blowing me away right now, and I couldn't imagine getting rid of. And I know there's a lot of. I don't even think Image is doing a lot of like espionage kind of that sort of deal.
Velvet's about the only other one I can think of that's kind of spy.
And those two, it's nothing like Velvet, really.
Right.
So, take that for what you will. I don't know. I on one hand, I think this book is amazing. On the other hand, I'm kind of hesitant to recommend it to a lot of people because it's out there, and it's not for everyone. But if you're
that's what Alex Cott, right? Because that's Alex Cott doing the writing, right?
Yeah.
That's what he does, right? Though, I mean, you start looking at the other books that are on his list of things. He's doing Material, which is a new book that just came out like last week, and it's kind of like that book in the fact that it's dealing with a different subject matter, but it's dealing with lots of stuff that's really out there. You know, like the CIA stuff that's in that book and stuff that's really out there. The stuff that's in Material is kind of really out there. He does a lot of info dump in it and whatnot. He wrote that crazy book that I read a year or so ago called Change that was just, freaking way out there.
I read the first issue and I was just so confused and I'm just like, nope, I don't even want to go with it.
And it was a head trip all the way through. So clearly he has his own thoughts on what he wants to tell for a story that are off the beaten path from what everybody else out there is doing. And that's cool for that aspect alone, if nothing else. So.
Here you go. If you're a fan of Morrison at his most Morrison-iest, I think you'd like this sort of thing.
Well, you just turned a lot of people off that book.
Well, but to be fair, I think that's the best mainstream equation I can come up with.
Right. And I can see that from the stuff of his that I've read. I can see that being a. See, I'll have to get it now.
Yeah.
It just went up my list, so because I like Morrison at his Morrison-iest.
And then the last one I got that I'm hoping I'm not alone on, because, wow, was Sabrina.
That was last week.
Was it?
Yeah, I didn't get it.
It must have been a diamond delay.
We'll let you talk about it, though.
Yeah. I didn't get it until this week, and I haven't read it yet, but that's okay.
Oh, well...
I could always take my headset off if you wanted to go ahead and talk about it.
I don't know. I mean, the main thing is, I've been reading this, but I mean, the third issue's out from the first one being half a year ago, basically.
Right.
It's not a, 4-year delay, but it's up there. This issue kind of sold me, because I'm really kind of hesitant about anything like high school-esque or anything like that, but we're fading further and further away. And because of these Archie horrors, I looked a little at the older PC horror stuff and whatnot. And to me, this is playing on the nostalgia of that kind of comic, but taking advantage of some stuff of modern day things that they can do with comics, like the colors and whatnot. And so it's the way those books were, but the way you want to remember them in a way, I guess, if you're looking at it. I don't know, just solid horror, but as much as I'm liking this one, the first issue is very Cthulhu-esque, and they're kind of going more in a different direction. I was hoping it's going to stay more there, but it was last week. I don't want to ramble on too much.
Anybody pick up Neverboy?
What's that?
This is issue number 4, Neverboy. It's from Dark Horse. It is about a imaginary friend who basically, when his boy dies, he refuses to go back to imaginary land and get recycled and become somebody else's imaginary friend. He decides that he likes being in the real world, and so he takes lots of hallucinogens and basically has his own imaginary wife and imaginary son, who they live somewhat normal life with. And as long as he stays on the drugs, everything works. And he ends up not being able to find the right kind of drugs for a while, and it starts to slip, and the diner comes after him. And the diner is basically the doorway to, this looks like a diner, your typical, diner, and the imaginary police come out of there and want to wrangle him away back to imaginary land. He manages to escape that, and in escaping it, he has an artist. This artist, who is kind of a has-been artist, who's a taxi cab driver, ends up driving around a bunch of places and saves him. And they end up talking, and the artist discovers this possibility of imaginary land and being able to have access to that. Because he used to be an awesome artist, but he's kind of lost his muse. He ends up figuring out how to tap into imaginary land, and he is basically sucking the life out of imaginary land and producing these incredible paintings, and he's becoming famous again, and he doesn't care what the consequences are. And the consequences are that imagination is being dried up or corrupted. By the end of this issue, we see how it's really been corrupted a whole bunch, in the sense that this kid and his best friend are in their backyard playing, and they're waiting for the sheriff octopus to show up. And it's basically this ridiculous-looking octopus with a cowboy hat and a cigar and 6 shooters. It's going to come and play with them, right? Typical wild kid imagination. The painter captures it and paints it, and then it shows up. As the kids are getting ready to leave, thinking, "Well, gosh, my imaginary friend isn't coming to play." Well, it shows up to play, but now it looks like still looks like an octopus, but it looks burnt up. It looks like it's been rolled up in a cigarette and smoked for a while, is what it looks like. It's disgusting and gross, and they run in panic because imagination is basically being sucked up. So the imaginary Never Boy is the imaginary friend, who's this guy who's trying to maintain a normal life, is now got to go and solve this problem. But it's been pretty cool. I've enjoyed it. It's kind of trippy. And some fun.
Limited run?
Yes, it's 6 issues, I believe.
All right.
So two more issues and it's done. But it's been kind of fun. The art's been kind of funky and trippy and whatnot. But I also got Broken World. Anybody pick up Broken World? 4-issue limited run by Boom Studio, written by Frank Barriere, who's the guy who did 5 Ghosts. That's basically the reason I picked it up. Curious to see what else he might write. Art by Christopher Peterson. I think the art on the cover is stronger than the art inside, but it is all the same artist. Premise of this book is a giant world-destroying asteroid is coming at Earth. Everything says it's going to hit the Earth, and so they're evacuating everybody off of the Earth and getting them on spaceships. This is set somewhere in the nearest future. So everybody can escape, death. But the government has decided that the only people who get to go are people who don't have criminal records. If you've got something in your permanent record, you're not going to get to go. Our main character, this mother here, has something on her permanent record. We don't know what that is. She goes and gets a forged copy, gets a fake ID, basically, that doesn't have her permanent record on it, so when they read her chip, she'll get to sneak away. Her husband is one of the people that's in charge of the elevator, these gravitational elevator, to get you up to the spaceship. Comes down to the final days, and they go to get on the ship, and of course her ID doesn't work right, and she gets dragged off to the side. She gets separated from her family, all that horrible stuff. There's like a doomsday cult. It's like a religious cult that has decided that it's God's fate for them to all die. And so you should not be running from this asteroid. And so they start sabotaging everything, and their last escape that all these people might have been able to escape on, the religious zealots sabotage it so she can't get away. So she's stuck on Earth. There's less than 48 hours, and they're going to get pasted. Well, the book ends 2 hours after the asteroid was supposed to have hit the Earth, and it passes by. So most of the Earth has been evacuated, 70% of the Earth has been evacuated, and the only people that are left are the people with criminal records, and that's where the book ends at. And her family is gone, and so now, what's next for everybody when the only people that are left are the people who are supposedly the criminal element? plus a few people who were unfortunate and didn't get on the ships because the religious zealots, the Hale Bobbit equivalents, are the only other people that are left on the planet because they sabotaged everything because they thought that God meant for them to die. So it's not bad. It's interesting. It has some interesting questions that I'm curious about reading, and because it's 4 issues, I figure it's worth the investment. Anybody have any?
Interesting, actually.
What's that?
This sounded kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah,
But...
yeah, I enjoyed it. Anybody else have any other books?
Again, not that I've read. I picked up Swords of Sorrow and I picked up Nailbiter, but I haven't read them yet.
Okay. I have a few others. Suicide Risk ended. This is issue 25. It's the final issue. It just kind of neatly ties up some stuff. Wasn't a bad ending, but wasn't real cool either. The cool stuff has already happened a few issues ago. But it was a fun run. 25 issues of kind of interesting stuff. And yeah. So as far as kind of an odd, book that I don't think hardly anybody else was reading.
I'm surprised it lasted that long, actually.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I think because it's Mike Carey, they let him finish out the story that he wanted to tell.
Yeah.
Instead of just pulling the plug on it. I think he had enough leverage for that. He had I think part of his contract also gave him that ability. Yeah. Like I said, I think the biggest thing about this is that stupid title, I think, keeps people off the book with it being called Suicide Risk. So, the one other book I will talk about, I have other books I could talk about. Airboy, issue number 1. Holy crap. This was awesome. If you don't mind Krast, basically, if you took Charles Bukowski and Robert R. Crumb and stuck them together and said, hey, dudes, make a comic book, this is kind of what it would be. It's incredibly self-deprecating, and it has lots of drug use in it, and lots of frontal male nudity, and
oh, now I'm sold.
Yeah, all kinds of craziness in it. So the premise of it is, and I wasn't going to get this to tell you the truth. I thought, oh man, Airboy, somebody's gonna relaunch Airboy. When I first heard about this, I was like, I'm not, and they've got James Robinson doing it. He's got this kind of supposed notoriety of being able to take Golden Age characters and write them. He's the Golden Age darling to write stories that really haven't worked out well for him in these recent years. Wasn't going to get it, but I was at Emerald City Comic Con, and Matt Fraction said, you want to read a book that's going to blow your mind, you got to get Airboy. And I'm like, really? Okay, so I just blindly picked it up. I didn't read the solicitation, I just picked it up. So the premise of this is, it actually is James Robinson and Hinckley, the artist Hinckley. They are the characters of the book. It is about them. It is semi-autobiographical. I don't know how much of it is real, or I'm not sure that the threesome that goes on here actually happens in their real life. But the story starts out. James Robinson is having a hard time. He's having an awful time at DC, and if anybody knows his history here recently, he was kind of having an awful time at DC. He's tired of being the golden boy that does Golden Age things. At any rate, Eric Stevenson, who writes They're Not Like Us, Know We're Men, he's one of the head executives of Image, calls him up and says, hey, we want to relaunch Airboy. It's a free property right now. We want you to do it. You're our first person. We'll get somebody else to do it if you don't want to do it. And he's like, oh, I don't want to do it. He's on the toilet and he's constipated. And he's talking to him like, oh man, I just don't want to do this. And he's just keeps talking about how he's just, he thinks he's a failure. He thinks everybody else thinks he's a failure. He had all this awful stuff going on at DC and all this stuff. Well, we'll pay you to do it. And he's like, okay. So he's got this massive writer block. He doesn't know what to do. So he decides he'll get an artist. And maybe if he gets an artist, the artist will inspire him to figure out a story. So he gets Hinckley. And I tell you, Hinckley is a brilliant artist. All the stuff that's in this stuff. This cover is the detail is through the entire book. It is, they're somewhat caricatures, but you could read the labels on the beer bottles and the cocaine and the heroin and all the other crazy stuff that goes on in it. But he gets this artist, and they rent a hotel. They hold up in this hotel, and it's kind of a, Hunter S. Thompson-esque in a way. They can't figure out what to do, so Robinson decides, let's go get a drink. And the drinking then becomes, let's go snort some cocaine. And the cocaine gets to, let's go do some more drinks. And Hinckley decides that he feels bad because Robinson's buying all the drugs, so he buys some drugs, and they snort those drugs. Those drugs end up being heroin. They end up finding this woman. It's just, like I said, it's totally crazy. But at the very end of the book, and the whole art is like this, it's colored like this, at the very end of the book, they wake up the next morning after this giant drinking and sex bender, and they're like, oh, damn, what are we going to do? We still have no story idea. And stepping through the window is Airboy in full color, like he is here, and he's like, talking in the old traditional 1950s comic book speak. You guys have gotten off the path. You need to get back on the straight and narrow, and I'm going to fix things for you. So it sounds like the story's going to be some autobiographical, these guys, versus now they've got this comic book character in real life with them and what's going to go on. But I absolutely loved it. I probably did a horrible job of explaining it, but it was just so gonzo and nuts, and I'm not sure how much art I can show you that won't get me banned from YouTube. But here's a whole bunch of the paneling and coloring and whatnot, and there's just lots of great conversation. The dialogue is perfect. It all feels really natural. I don't know how much of this stuff it's really happened in these people's lives and how much hasn't. If you've ever followed Robinson on Twitter, the second half of this book I can't even show you. Here's the final page of Airboy stepping in, and
this behavior will not stand.
Yes, right. So it's so classic as far as that goes. But yeah, the opening page, and then it's Robinson on the toilet. It's just, it's, I don't know. I thought it was really cool. It's funnier than hell if you can laugh at crass things, and like I said, them being all debauchery and whatnot. If you follow Robinson on Twitter, I don't know if he's on Twitter anymore because the guy generally does struggle with confidence in is he still a good writer. He's known for writing Starman and he feels like he can't get past that. That's all people want to talk to him about. And I don't know if you guys have read Starman, but his Starman stories were pretty amazing, I thought. So that's all kind of in here, encapsulated in this. But as far as the massive drug use and the wild night they have with the girl and all that, I don't know how much of that's real, but I don't know. I loved it, and I will be looking for more of Hinckley's books because I just loved his art. It has a very clean but underground kind of a feel to it. It's a less characterized, cleaner version of Crumb's work, I think. But yeah, I just got a real kick out of it. Anyway, if you're into an adult book that's, like I said, just kind of a lot of laughs as far as that kind of stuff goes, it was pretty cool. Anyway, that's it for me. I got other books, but I don't want to hear myself talking. So, I don't know, any news that's around the independent stuff? I know Kirkman signed some great deal now. He's like AMC's golden boy. He is signed on to write lots more properties for them and help produce more stuff, I heard. So, I don't know, does that mean Kirkman's moving farther and farther away from comic books and more where the money's at?
I don't know, but speaking of him, isn't that Walking Dead spin-off series supposed to start pretty soon?
I'm thinking it's not going to start, because I'm guessing it's probably only 8 or 9 episodes. I'm assuming it's going to not start until like August. We'll get those 8 or 9 issues, and it'll lead right up to when the next season of Walking Dead starts, is my guess at this point. But no, I don't think there's anything that says for sure what that is. Yeah, so I don't know as far as that.
Ryan Steve said in the comments that Nowhere Men's coming back in the fall. Did you hear that?
Yes, I heard that. First off, I thought it was just them reselling because they're re-putting out the trade of it. But I hear that the trade's coming out because in the fall it's supposed to be coming back.
Super I didn't hear that.
Super excited about that.
I'm gonna have to probably reread the first, was the 5 or 6 issues that came out? I can't remember.
I think it's 6.
6, yeah. I gotta go reread them all again.
Super excited for that because yeah, I really love those issues. So, and my understanding is it's all the same people on board because Stephenson didn't want to do it if the artist wasn't going to be able to do it. So,
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm just kind of looking over comments right here to see if I'm.
I know Ron Perlman really wants to make a Hellboy 3.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter that people were retweeting that he was hoping to get enough excitement around that to make it happen. I'm all for that. I've liked all the Hellboy movies. They've all been fun.
I like Hellboy 1 way better than Hellboy 2, but I thought Hellboy 2 was enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff about it that aren't like the comics, and I think they put some of that stuff in there just because it's a movie, so it has to have the love interest stuff and whatnot. But as far as the characterization of Hellboy himself, Ron Perlman does a great oh crap.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
And that's such a Hellboy thing that I get a real kick out of that. Yeah.
If they do a number 3, is there a certain storyline you would like to see?
No. I'd rather they just make up something new.
All right.
You know, because I don't think there's anything that any storyline of real interest. There's no way you can squash it down into a single movie.
Okay.
I don't think so. I would say either that or the things that are kind of fun. I don't know how much sense it would make to your average moviegoer that might be familiar with the movies but not familiar with the comic. You know, like if they were to go back and tell some of like his stories when he was younger and in Mexico, for instance, I don't think that your average moviegoer would be going, you know, what the hell, 1958 Mexico, huh?
Yeah.
So I don't know that would be a good thing as far as that goes. So.
Hey, going back to that Kirkman thing, did they say what exactly he's doing for AMC? What type of centric thing is it, or? My
understanding is that for him to write new story ideas for them and produce more stuff. Nothing specific. Oh. Not like they're gonna do one of his titles, for instance, but for him to create stuff for them, as opposed to I have this stuff and I'm going to, you know, do something with it. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, Walking Dead has been successful, clearly. You know, I don't know if his magic in television goes beyond that. I guess we'll find out, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, if we've got nothing else to talk about as far as indie stuff, or
do you know what's coming out next week? Is there anything big coming out?
Lots of indies. Image has got a really big week next week.
I wonder what I have coming then, because
Birthright, Black Science, Saga, Nameless. There's a lot of Image books coming out next week.
Yeah. All I can get in my head is that next week I get my my artist edition of Commandy. So I guess I haven't looked at what's coming beyond that because I'm just super excited to get that. I guess so. Batman, right?
The new Constantine Hellblazer comes out next week too.
Yep, new Constantine comes out. Looking forward to that apprehensively. Of course, next week is also Batman and Detective Comics. Oh, Copperhead comes out too.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be. You're right. It's gonna be a good week. Is anybody picking up like Starve? #1 of it comes out.
That's that new Brian Wood one, right?
Right. That has to do with the near future.
Because I'm cutting my books at 10 a week. It's not gonna. I won't be able to have room for it. So, no room for that book, unfortunately.
Anybody picking up Section 8? That's another one of the new DC books that Garth Ennis writes. The 8-issue series.
No, the only new #1 I'm getting next week is Constantine.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be a good week. Injection #2, so we'll get to see more of where that's going at. We're all picking that up, right?
Oh yeah,
Matt.
Yeah.
Will she get her sandwich?
Good question. Good question. So we'll have to tune in next week to find out where they got that sandwich, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cliffhanger.
Yep, there you go. Anybody have any parting words of wisdom or whatever?
I got
No?
nothing.
No.
Catchphrase.
Yeah. All I can say is, hey, if you're out there, hopefully I caught most of the comments. For whatever reason, none of my comment feeders are really working tonight. I don't know. Google Plus must have changed something else once again. So I apologize for that if I didn't get to them. If you're out there making videos, let us know so we can watch your videos, so we can see what's going on if you're somebody new who's putting stuff out. And if you are somebody new putting stuff out, put out what you want to put out. Make the videos you want to make and talk about what you want to talk about and the way you want to talk about it. That's my parting words of wisdom to you. Don't listen to anybody else who might tell you otherwise. Do it the way you want to do it. And with that, I will say goodnight. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming and talking books with me. And thank you, everybody who is watching this live and will watch this in the future. Have a great one.